What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Sports Talk with Brodes podcast. And just to give a little brief explanation on what this podcast is all about, you know I have the YouTube thing where I cover Philadelphia sports and post-game recaps and all about it. This podcast is going to be more related to just topics around sports, not so much so deep and heavy involved in just Philadelphia game recaps, but generalizing sports and hot topics as a whole. With me today, I have Taylor Brody, my cousin, and we are going to discuss the number one topic we're going to go with here is the new list that came out of the top 10 NFL coaches heading into this season. And Taylor, I mean, before we go over here, just to kind of, what are you thinking here? Are you a little crazy or, you know?
Yeah, it really makes no sense. So Sporting News tweeted out a top list of NFL coaches with a link to a ranking of all NFL head coaches from best to worst. And the top 10 are kind of interesting. Some of them are obvious top 10 picks, but maybe you want to read this thing off.
Yeah, no, I mean, number one here is Bill Belichick, and that's a no-brainer, right? The guy wins all the time. It's unbelievable. It doesn't make much sense. He plugs in anybody, and it works. I don't understand how that happens. He could plug in anybody he wants. He could say, yo, Brodes, go out there, play wide receiver, cut across the middle after 5 yards, and I'm going to probably catch the damn ball.
I think it's every year we think, Brady doesn't have any targets left. And here he is throwing to some no-name that we've never heard of.
And then that no-name ends up winning the Super Bowl MVP.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. All right, so number two is Sean McVay? Sean McVay?
Sean McVay might be the most overrated head coach in the league, to the point where it's comical.
I respect him. I do. Like, listen, I think he has value in his coaching ability. Let's not just throw it 100%. Out of the water there. But for him to be over Sean Payton, Andy Reid, he's over Andy Reid. And listen, I'm not even an Andy Reid guy because during his tenure here, I was one of the booers, if you will, because I think he overstayed the welcome. But Andy Reid's a Hall of Famer.
I know.
Sean McVay?
And not just that, Andy Reid is the winningest coach in Eagles history. Sean McVay gets credit for being able to remember a play from, 10 years ago.
Yeah, you're right. He does get a lot of praise for that. But I will also say this. He was trash in the Super Bowl.
And embarrassed.
Very embarrassed. And it wasn't just that, though. He had plays throughout in the playoffs where he's punting on 4th and 1. And I say to myself, this is the offensive guru that everybody's all hype about. And he's punting on 4th and 1 in the playoffs? He can't come up with a play?
Especially when you have the talent on offense like he does. Sean McVay is a product of what's around him. He is the Dak Prescott of NFL coaching.
Listen, I think you're going to an extreme of he's not as good as he's being praised for. But I think he's overvalued. I think he's better than maybe you think he is. But to be number 2 on this list is actually laughable to me. It's laughable. There's way too many coaches on here that have way more background than Sean McVay. Here's a question for you. If he was 65, would he be this high up? Or is it because of how young he is that he might get a little bit more noise to his name?
Well, it's the idea that he was so exciting. He's so exciting and young that other teams are out there. They're not looking for the next Doug Peterson, which is a huge mistake, and I'll get into that later. But the fact that other teams are like, we need to find the next Sean McVay. We need to find that next young coach that can then go on to be our coach for the next 15, 20 years.
Yeah, I agree. It's everyone's looking for the young, new, exciting, good-looking guy. Really, it's not about your football knowledge anymore. It's all about this image. It's about the image
Mm-hmm.
and who can be here for the next 50 years. It's not about that. Doug Peterson has stepped in, and let's talk about it because Doug Peterson is on the top 10, which is good.
Yes,
It's good to see. So it goes Belichick, Sean McVay, and then Sean Payton. I will say Sean Payton to me is a hate the face. I can't stand looking at him. I can't stand the Saints, the biggest crybabies ever. But good coach. Good coach.
Yeah, I think he's an iconic head coach in the history of the league. Even though he's only won one Super Bowl, and he's had many chances and lots of talent. I mean, no one can deny his what he's brought to the city of New Orleans, what he's the impact that he's had on the league, even the rules of the league. Going back to that crybaby stuff.
Yeah.
And even Bountygate. I mean,
yeah. Well, you say one thing, and you mention the one Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We praised Andy Reid, and my man's got a fat 0. So I mean, that's already. You make a good point with Sean Payton. He has only has one Super Bowl, but we praise Andy Reid for how great he's been, and that man doesn't have any. So
Yeah, and it's give and take. Rings matter. Are rings everything?
Right.
When it comes to making this list, maybe not.
Well, you also do need to realize that they were going to fire Sean Payton the year before. I mean, that honestly, they were discussing Sean Payton being fired out of New Orleans before this season began, and they made that run to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, and and they earned every second of that, and you can argue they should have been in the Super Bowl. That, in my opinion, that was pass interference.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows that at this point.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah, and so I think he definitely belongs in the top 5, no doubt, and I think he's fine, being in the top 3 on this list.
Absolutely. So then we go to 4. Andy Reid's at number 4. I think we've praised him enough at this point. I think he should be above Sean McVay in my opinion, but Andy Reid is number 4 on this list, and with taking Sean McVay out of it and moving him out of that number 2 slot, I can say in all fairness that I feel like that's a reasonable spot for Andy Reid to be in.
Yeah.
Is around that spot.
Yeah. I think he definitely belongs above Sean McVay. They've both lost the same amount of Super Bowls, and Andy Reid's been to more championships than Sean McVay.
Right.
So,
but you're splitting hairs at 2 and 3. You're not, even if there is a difference in 2 and 3, what's the margin? Is the margin just a centimeter between them? Well, someone's got to be above the other. You know what I'm saying?
But not just that. I think Reid has a legacy that we don't know if Sean McVay is going to reach that.
Right. No, I agree.
And yes, did we boo him out of town? Of course we did. But at the same time, is Andy Reid a Hall of Fame elite head coach in the history of the NFL? I don't think it's deniable.
Yes, I agree completely.
Super Bowl or not.
I agree. And I agree.
Yeah. Number 5 confuses me a little bit.
Okay.
Pete Carroll's at number 5. I have some opinions about Pete Carroll.
Okay.
Pete Carroll's a Super Bowl winning head coach. Yes, Pete Carroll has, he's worked with both, lots of talent, less talent. But is Pete Carroll really that good when it comes to fighting adversity? Ever since, in my opinion, ever since they blew that Super Bowl against the Patriots.
Yep.
Which was 100% his fault.
Yeah, got to run the football.
Yeah,
you just got.
I understand you got to make the pass, but you give it to your best player. That being said, Pete Carroll has been unable to come up with a way to protect his franchise quarterback, an elite quarterback. Like, when was the last? Like, is it year after year after year we say, "Where's the Seahawks offensive line?"
Yes.
Every single year.
Yeah, it's like the Giants' offensive line almost.
Yeah, as their defense ages out, we see Earl Thomas is gone. We see that. We see players retiring. It doesn't seem like he's doing a good job at continuing the success with the players that are coming in to replace the players who played during the Legion of Boom.
No, I see I see what you're saying, but I'll go as far as this. As we continue, and I'm personally, I know the people listening don't see the list in front of them, but taking a
Yeah.
look from 6 and down, I don't know, besides one person, who I would actually choose over Pete Carroll. To be honest with you, there's one person I would, and then the rest I'm thinking, I think I'd rather have Pete Carroll over these guys.
Okay.
So when I sit there and I say it, and you're talking about his long term and creating success based off these players over and over and over again, you take out Bill Belichick, and my point is that's hard as hell to do. There's not many people that can consistently do it over and over again. So for what he's done, I think that, and remember, this past year, they had a great season. We were laughing in the preseason about what the Seahawks were going to be. We said, they don't have this, what's going on here? Like, Richard Sherman left. So for what he did last season, huge success.
Of course.
And I'm a Pete Carroll fan. I think that he should have more Super Bowls than what he has, but that comes down to him making a huge mistake, of course. But I like his, I like his persona. I like the chewing of the gum and the players coach, the old guy. Like I think 5's a good number for him.
Okay,
I do. So go ahead, go ahead, and then give number 6 for us.
So I know you have opinions on number 6.
Yes.
So I'll read it off and then hand it over to you.
Okay.
So John Harbaugh is number 6.
Yeah, no, I am not a fan of that at 6 because I take a look. I take a look at what he's done with the Ravens, and Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And last year with Lamar Jackson and creating that spark out of that division, which obviously with the Steelers and all that, it was a tough division to battle in. But all around, I just don't see it. He does not have that oomph to me. He doesn't have that whatever it is when you hear a coach's name and you say, that's a good coach. I don't know if he has that spark with his name.
I think kind of what you're getting at is he's kind of played out. He won the Super Bowl, and not only won the Super Bowl, he won it with Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco is not the best quarterback in the world. Never was. I mean, he wasn't great at I'd say he was a good game manager. Sometimes could turn over the ball.
Yeah, in that time frame of his Super Bowl, he was doable. Let's just go with that. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great, but he was a very doable quarterback, capable of winning, obviously. But that's where he was. He was just a above average quarterback.
Sure. And it was the defense that carried those teams.
Yes.
I do think John Harbaugh is a top 10 coach. I don't know if he belongs at 6, but I think he, based on what's below him, I would put him above some of the rest of the people on this top 10 list.
Okay. Well, then, speaking of putting him in front of people, he's right in front of Dougie P at number 7. Doug Peterson is number 7. And I think that he could be above Sean McVay, and I think he could be above John. I mean, I really do. I think he could be above those two guys. And and I would be very happy with that. But you take a look at some guys behind him, and Mike Tomlin's right behind him at number 8. And Mike Tomlin is, I know he's on a little bit of a hot seat because of everything going on with Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, but Mike Tomlin has a pretty damn good resume, and he's above Mike Tomlin, which is good to see, but I think he's above, what the Ravens have done over the multiple years, and on top of that, what Sean McVay has done. Doug Peterson, and listen, obviously, are we a little biased? Yeah, we are, but we dissect this guy every single day, and we see his value. I remember when we first hired Doug Peterson.
No one liked it. Nobody liked it.
Who the hell is this guy? And 7-9? What is going on here? But now we've fallen in love with this dude. We've fallen in love with. I would go to war for this guy any day of the week.
We've come a long way since that clown named Mike Lombardi. We have. But here's the thing with Doug Peterson. My favorite aspect of Doug Peterson is his ability to maximize what he has to work with. No matter who's on the field, whether it's Carson Wentz, Nick Foles while he was here, whoever, the rotating door of cornerbacks, whether it's offense or defense. And obviously I'll give Jim Schwartz credit where credit's due on defense as well. Doug Peterson finds ways to win football games.
He does.
He knows how to battle through adversity. Nothing phases him. I think last year, I forget which game it was, is when he really got fired up. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember off the top of my head which game it was. But, Doug Peterson, I think, is better than a few of the guys above him at just that, finding ways to win football games no matter what he has to work with.
I agree. The big thing with me and Doug Peterson is the culture. I mean, I know it's simple as hell to talk about. It's like a simple thing. Oh, he's got a great culture in the locker room. This guy, this guy has this team playing at 3,000% no matter what. I mean,
Yep.
We were down and out. Everyone's heads were down. We win the Super Bowl. We come back next year. Everyone's disappointed in where we're at halfway through the season. Can we really make the playoffs? And he has this team, which is not easy to do. Do you know how much egos are involved at that level when it comes to professional athletes in the NFL? He has them all on the same page, not giving up until week 17 of the damn season. And we battled. And it's funny, I actually made a video and got a lot of hate for it. One of the things I stated was I see comparisons between Brett Brown and Doug Peterson. And in relation to this, is Doug Peterson a better coach than Brett Brown in their respected sports?
100%.
Yes, but what they create is this locker room energy. What Brett Brown did, and I'm not that I'm being sidetracked to the point of basketball, but Brad Stevens is a phenomenal X's and O's coach. Outstanding. Arguably one of the best in the league behind Greg Popovich. He had a problem last year with the egos in the locker room and the Kyrie Irvings and the Gordon Haywards. He had a problem keeping them on the same page. Brett Brown, not the best X's and O's guys, but have you heard a bad thing about Brett Brown? Have you heard one bad thing from any players, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, about Brett Brown and the way that he gets guys going in the locker room? No, he creates this energy and this want to out of that team, and I believe Doug Peterson does the same thing. But to be completely honest with you, is Doug Peterson's X's and O's, are they elite? I don't think they are, but with football, you get a lot more help with coordinators and stuff when it comes to game planning. I don't think Doug Peterson is the best X's and O's guys, but he is a great leader.
Yeah, and with that being said, I think he's better than Sean McVay.
Yes.
I think he, at this point, just based on the history and what we know, I think he's above Andy Reid.
Yeah. Wow. You think is that the?
I do.
So okay, hear me out though. If we didn't win the Super Bowl that year, and just say we lost in the NFC Championship game, I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. Is he better than Andy Reid? Based off of he would be 7-9, he would be 13-3, and he would be 9-7. Without a Super Bowl win, would you still put him on top of Andy Reid? In front of Andy Reid? That sounded a little weird. Yeah, exactly.
No, I would not.
Exactly.
But I'm saying Super Bowls are not everything, but in this case, I think it's the difference.
Fair, it is the difference. And to be fair also, this wasn't a last year's Super Bowl where the Eagles were in the Patriots' position where they won. What was the final score? 9-3. What was the final score? I don't even remember. Was it something?
I think it was like 10-3.
Okay,
like
it was something trash. When we won the Super Bowl, we outboxed and threw haymakers with Floyd Mayweather. I mean, that was the style of win that we came out with. So you're right. It wasn't a 10-3 win like last year's Super Bowl where we squeaked away, and at the end of the day, we won the Lombardi. This was a serious dogfight of a battle and a pretty solid victory.
Yeah, so you can analyze that Super Bowl, 10 times a Sunday. You're going to see, Doug Peterson did what Andy Reid could not.
Yeah.
That being said, he also did it in a way that was extremely impressive from a coaching and play calling standpoint with a backup quarterback.
Now, do you think Andy Reid is going to get the job done in Kansas City by the time his career's over?
I hope he does.
I know, I do too. Listen, I'm not going to be one of those guys who on Sundays, like, do I go out of my way to root for Andy Reid? No, I don't say I do. I enjoy the Chiefs team, so it makes it easier. I enjoy watching Mahomes, who doesn't? So it does make it a lot easier. And when the playoffs come around, if he's in the AFC, yeah, I mean, let's be real, there is a little bit of a tie, but I don't go out of my way. And that makes me think of this topic. So I know you're a big red zone guy, and I am too. When you have two TVs, you're looking all around, you're going crazy on Sundays. When Nick Foles is on the Jags playing for a game, I want your honest opinion. I want you to be honest with me. Are you going to sit there and root for him to do well?
I'm not going to not. I'm not going to hope he fails.
Right. Okay.
Against us.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, I'm not going to root for him the same way I did when he was in Eagles green. When I was at the Eagles, Texans game and he gets up after getting hit in the ribs. I'm not going to root like that, but, going back to Doug, and Andy Reid, I'll finish with this. If Andy Reid gets to the Super Bowl and he's in it, I'll root for him. I'll root for him in the Super Bowl against whoever he's playing.
Yeah, I agree completely. Definitely Andy Reid. But I'll be honest with you, it might get to the point, and I like doing this, and this is one of the reasons why I want to do the podcast. I know we're talking about the top 10 coaches and on, but if we get sidetracked, I'm totally down to get sidetracked into still a football conversation. And this Nick Foles thing that just came up, now I'm intrigued by conversation. I truly believe that if Nick Foles was in the Super Bowl, I think I would root against him, and here's why.
Really?
Here's why. I will never, ever, ever, ever want to hear the Folesian Society now counter an argument of we had the wrong quarterback. I mean, don't get me wrong, it'll probably happen even if he just got to the Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would root for him to win another Super Bowl. Unless we have won one already with Carson Wentz.
Okay.
I'm not anti-Nick Foles, but
yeah,
the people who wanted to keep Nick Foles, and this is the last conversation I wanted to get derailed into, but here I am. You need to realize in this situation, no matter what happens, no matter what the hell happens moving forward, in this situation, when we had to make a move of keep Carson Wentz and move on from Nick Foles, no matter what happens, this is the right decision in this moment. Whether it works or does not work, this is the right move. But I don't understand how that doesn't click into people's heads. That's why I would actually root against Nick Foles if he was in the Super Bowl.
Now, I'll tell you something. I've had conversations at work with, a couple of my colleagues about this, and a couple of them came to me and they went, "Oh, we shouldn't have gotten rid of Nick Foles." And I say this to them. I say, yes, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. His number should be retired here, in my opinion.
I disagree, but go ahead.
That's fine. He's a legend in the city. He's the one who he got us the first Super Bowl. That's huge. That being said, this is about the window of opportunity for this football team. Carson Wentz is what? 25?
Yeah, he might be 26 coming this season, but he was 25, yeah.
So he's 25. Nick Foles is in his 30s now.
Yeah.
Nick Foles is also not a mobile quarterback at all. I'm sure Carson could have probably outrun him on his torn ACL. That being said, you need to worry about the window of opportunity for this football team. There's a lot of aging players on this team. Yeah. People never really realized that.
That's why the pro Nick Foles people actually think that Nick Foles would have made more sense because the window is so small. It's if you were to win one more Super Bowl with Nick Foles without Carson Wentz, you come out with 2 Super Bowls. Is that better than the next 10 years of competition of the NFC Championship game every year without a Super Bowl? Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay. There's a simple response to that. Out of the AFC, right?
Yes.
Out of the AFC, in fact, you could go by both. I'm pretty sure if you go back the past over a decade, you can even more than that. I think you can count on one hand the amount of Super Bowls that didn't involve someone named Brady, Roethlisberger, or Manning.
Right.
That being said, the window in today's NFL for a team's success is, I'd say, 90% based on who your quarterback is.
Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely.
He's the most important person on the football field.
Absolutely.
Now, is there a chance that Carson Wentz is going to prove, oh, yeah, he is injury prone. He's not going to go anywhere? Sure. That's possible. He may get hurt every year, even with us having the deepest offensive line in football right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
After the draft, but you have to, your number one priority as a football fan, as an Eagles fan, if you're an Eagles fan watching this, it needs to be this team's window for opportunity.
Yeah.
An opportunity to win, go to the playoffs, and try to get another Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't want to get too sidetracked into that conversation, but it spiraled in there. And I do have I wrote down a note on something that you mentioned that I want to get back to. So real quickly, we don't have to really dive into the rest of the coaches, but Mike Tomlin is 8, Anthony Lynn of the Chargers is 9, and Frank Reich is number 10.
I love the love for Frank.
Me too. I think he's done actually a great job. He's a really solid coach, and for him to do what he did with that Colts team last year, and that team is young, very young. But the NFL is also very year to year. There's no denying that. But I think Frank Reich has done a good job, and for Tomlin, yeah, his resume's there. He's been around for a while. He's had success. Right now, it's an awkward time, but all around, I mean, he's had success in this league.
Yeah, and I think one note I have about Tomlin, I think Tomlin's been the one that's disappointed me the most in the fact that, like, how much talent has he had around him?
Right. Well, let's be real. How many AFC Championship games has he gone to? And the year that was it the year that the Patriots won before the Eagles beat them with the Jesse James catch? I mean, that they should have been in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
they got boned on that catch.
I mean, then again, the rules then would have deemed that not a catch.
Right. Yeah, you're right. The technicality of it.
Yeah, like now it's a catch. They changed it afterward.
Right.
And then in terms of Frank Reich, I think what impressed me the most with Frank Reich is, Andrew Luck just came back. We didn't know what we were going to get out of Andrew Luck. And let's be real, Frank Reich did a fantastic job getting him reacclimated.
Oh, yeah, I agree completely.
So that's all I have to say about that.
And the last coach I want to talk about, before I get into the comment that you made.
Yeah.
Jason Garrett's number 12, and he stinks.
What a joke.
He's
horrible.
But listen, even though we're just Eagles fans, we're realistic fans too. We understand. Yes. And even the Cowboys fans out there can back that statement up. I know a lot of Cowboys fans, and they definitely agree with me when I say he's not it. He's not it. And they're kind of out on him. They don't like him that much.
No, and the thing with Jason Garrett is he's there to be a puppet. He's there to be a puppet for Jerry Jones.
Right.
Because he's a yes man.
Right.
If you give Jerry what he wants, welcome to the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
And that's not me talking as an Eagles fan. That's me talking as someone who understands the difference between a head coach that knows what he's doing versus one that doesn't.
Right. He
is lucky to have arguably the best running back in football at his disposal.
And I'll go as far as this too. I know this is gonna. I wonder if this is gonna spark you a little bit, but I don't think that Dak is as bad as people say.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think. Listen, he's not the most. He doesn't have the most powerful arm. He doesn't have the most insane, Aaron Rodgers type look, feel to him or anything. But I think he can win you some really good games. I mean, I think he's a very good. I think he's somewhat reasonably solid in fourth quarters in bigger drives compared to most people around the league.
You sound like you're describing Alex Smith.
Well, no, I think I would take Dak Prescott over Alex Smith any day of the week.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's elite. I'm not saying he's great. But this is my point of when people laugh at the fact that the Dallas Cowboys are paying Dak Prescott however much money they do. Your other option is to start all over again. You can't do that. So at the running rate of quarterbacks, with the salary cap going up, with teams making more money, yeah, $30 million is a lot of money for someone like Dak Prescott, but that's the going rate. But what's your other option? Kick Dak Prescott to the curb and draft another one and start all over? You just actually can't do that. So for someone who hates the Dallas Cowboys, I don't hate Dak Prescott. I actually like his story, but I just don't understand the hate that he gets. It's also, I'm in the Philadelphia area where I just hear laughter about it all the time. Coming from a sports fan, I give him more credit than most Philadelphia sports fans would.
Well, here's my thing, and guilty as charged. For those of you watching who don't follow me on Twitter, I'm very outspoken in making fun of Dak Prescott and making fun of the Cowboys wanting to sign him. The joke of it all, and I'm going to say this first. I agree with you. I think he does get. I think he is reasonable.
Yeah.
That being said, even though it's reasonable, I don't think he's a quarterback that's going to bring you a Super Bowl.
I don't think he's not going to be someone who stands out with, oh my God, he threw 6 touchdowns that game, 500 yards. No, but I think if he has the right surrounding pieces with a good defense like last year, it's not impossible to win a Super Bowl. As much as that burns me to say, it's not impossible to win with a good team surrounding Dak Prescott.
Yes, but I think he's in my opinion, Dak Prescott is a product of what's around him.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt. I would not disagree with that.
But that's compared to teams that have won Super Bowls and quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls that create their own opportunities. Not to say that they don't get backed up by the running backs sometimes, or they don't get backed up by, their receivers or the defense sometimes. But, guys like Aaron Rodgers, guys like, Tom Brady, and guys like Big Ben in his prime. And, those are guys that win you games because that's how good they are.
Right.
That's not Dak Prescott. And that's why I want the Dallas Cowboys to sign him. That's why I want them to extend him, because I think Carson Wentz is going to become that. I think if he's even half of what he was in 2017, he will be that.
Yeah, I agree.
And you look at where the other teams are in the division, and as an Eagles fan, that gets you pretty excited.
Yeah, no, I agree. Listen, I'm not trying to sit here and say that Dak Prescott is this quarterback that's going to win 5,000 championships. I'm just saying I think he gets a little bit more hatred than he probably deserves, and that's all I'm saying. And I get it. Listen, he's not Aaron Rodgers, and Carson Wentz should be a better quarterback. And speaking of Carson Wentz, people are asking me, Brodes, do you think Carson Wentz is going to be the MVP of the year? That is so far out of my mind. For me, I just need to see Carson Wentz go out there and have some swagger to him. Yep. I don't care if he wins MVP or not. He needs to be able to stay healthy, but he's answering the questions. I'm eating right. I have a great diet. I go to sleep well. You see, he does have this new look to him and this new swagger to him that makes me feel comfortable kind of going into the season.
He's on the Tom Brady diet, apparently.
Yeah, I know. I heard that, which is not a bad diet to be on.
Not at all. Apparently, his diet is like crazy.
No, that's awesome to hear. I'm thrilled to hear that. That's everything I would want. But have you been dying into the OTAs a little hard, or just kind of peeping?
A little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit. I think people are overblown. Like, oh, Carson looks so good. The knee brace is off. Calm down.
Right.
It's going to be fine. Like, we all knew it was going to be fine coming in. I'm glad that he's, has no limitations. I'm not scared.
No, I'm not scared either. But this is I'm a huge Carson guy. I'm not scared, but this is a season where he needs to prove, like, hey, I can stay healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, imagine if, I'm just saying, imagine if something happened again this year. Where does that put us? And I don't want to go down that road, but I'll leave that comment right there, and we'll move on. But hold on. Yeah. Speaking of Carson Wentz and the OTAs, this was a big conversation on day one of OTAs along sports radio around many different media markets in the area. When Donovan McNabb would go to OTAs for the first day, when Cunningham would go to OTAs for the first day, not that I was involved like I am now then, but there would be this monstrous spark around the city, like, football is back. I need my football. And do you think that the Eagles winning the Super Bowl kind of died down the off-season stuff for the Eagles? Or is it the fact that maybe the Sixers are really solid and they gave us a playoff push and we're emotionally just crushed after that loss? Is that playing a big factor? The Phillies being good, is that playing a big factor? Or do you think it's the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl, changed how we feel about the team mentally heading into off-seasons?
It's the Super Bowl. I mean, I like any disappointment with not just the Eagles, but with Philadelphia teams in general. It doesn't feel the same anymore. Like it sounds kind of silly because all the other teams, obviously, all our other teams had championships before the Eagles did,
right?
But that Eagles not having the Super Bowl was like that chip on our shoulders, even in the eyes of non-Philadelphia fans. You know, you had when other teams played poorly, somehow, some way, some fan from some Dallas fan who lives in Wisconsin for some reason, would come out and make an Eagles joke,
right?
So for me, as heartbreaking as that 76ers loss was, it. And even when the Eagles lost to the Saints with the ball going through Alshon's hands, I wasn't to the brink of tears. I wasn't angry or anything like that. It was just we'll get him next season,
right?
But it isn't like this again.
Right. Well, you know why? It's because I think we know the atmosphere we have, we know the talent we have, and you also need to know. That was a winnable game, but you don't win Super Bowls every year. I love how I can say that now. But you don't win Super Bowls every year, so when it does come down to that, you say, all right, that hurt, but we can have the roster to do this again.
Yeah.
With the Sixers, it's where the hell are we? What's next year? It's so much different with the feel of the losses due to how different the off seasons and next year is going to be. But that brings up another point. To be honest with you, I kind of love this. I know we have other topics to talk about.
Oh yeah.
But once we ramble, I enjoy kind of getting sidetracked within the same conversation. But this we bring up the Sixers and we bring up the Eagles, and my question to you is, I love the Eagles. The Eagles are number one to me when it comes to the four sports, even though that there really isn't that much of a drop-off in between each one. But you asked me my number one, and there's nothing better to me than the Eagles on 4 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 8:30, whatever the case may be. I love my birds. Everyone does. Yeah. But when you ask me what my favorite sport really, the Sixers to me, and this is the first time as a true diehard fan that I'm experiencing legit Sixers runs, because 01 AI, I'm how old am I? I'm 6 years old. I'm not dying into it like I am now. Exactly. So for the first time in my life, I'm experiencing Sixers legitimate basketball, and I am so in love with the sport of basketball that my favorite sport within the four is basketball, but the Eagles are my number one.
Yeah.
What do you feel about that when it comes to the Eagles? Is Eagles and football your number one without a doubt?
No.
Oh yeah, I do know you're a baseball.
I'm a baseball guy.
Yes.
So I I grew up watching the Phillies from a very young age.
Dude, I remember when we were maybe I'm just counting back years, maybe like 11 years ago, you would watch every single pitch. Like every pitch, you'd be screaming at the TV. And back then, I loved sports. I loved the Phillies, but nowhere close to this. So I'm looking at you like, you're an idiot, dude. Like, let's go play basketball outside. Let's go play football. You're watching what you got your Phillies jersey on. You're 3 feet. You were next to the monkey in Grandma Manette's basement or something with the scary monkey.
I used to when I used to hang out with my my girlfriend at the time when I was in high school.
I like how you said that very silently, as if
if you're watching this, I'm sorry. But
that's great.
Oh, that was my girlfriend back there. No,
That's awesome.
I used to I used to put on the Phillies no matter what time it was. I try to watch every game.
Yeah.
When I can. That being said, the Eagles are definitely number 2, for me. And I've recently, just like you were saying, I've recently been enjoying watching the Sixers. It's been a very, 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 very long time since the Sixers were watchable.
Yeah, I know. And this is exciting.
mean-
I am dissected into every dribble. And being a hockey guy, let's be real. If you're a hockey guy, you're really not a Sixers guy. Those two, they bat heads. They hate each other, hockey players, or I hate basketball. It's the dumbest logic in the world. But when I sit there and when I analyze a game, because I see sports differently now that I'm on a more of a journalistic side to an extent. I'm not going to sit here and try and act like, I'm the biggest journalist on the East Coast here. But just from my own personal standpoint, I see my growth in studying game. And when I watch playoff basketball in the half-court sets and watching every play develop, I am like a little kid eating ice cream out of an ice cream cone. Like, I love watching football, watching the lines beat each other up and seeing plays develop. But in basketball with the half-court set, I am in love. I am in love with watching every single set play out. And I've never experienced anything like it until recently.
Exciting.
Yeah. But we're all over the place. Love it. I want to go back to something you said when we were discussing Nick Foles.
Okay.
Jersey retired.
Yes.
Jersey retired?
Yes.
For winning 3 playoff games.
100%.
All right. I disagree. I really do.
And multiple Eagles records on top of that.
No, you're right. He does. He had the one game. How many touchdowns did he throw in one game?
7.
7? Okay, it's 7. And I'm not trying to take away. I love Nick Foles. What he did was great. But the narrative that Carson Wentz did nothing that season, and I know you're not that way. I know you're not specifically that way.
I will argue that Carson Wentz was just as much a part of that Super Bowl.
There's no Super Bowl without Carson Wentz that year. There's not. But to say he should get his number retired, personally, that damn statue, I love that I love that we're happy about winning a Super Bowl, but I just feel like that's a little childish of winning a Super Bowl. If we want to be a team that people are like, damn, that's the Eagles. Like, they win championships. They win titles. They have that badass attitude. I feel like we're kind of acting like children with the statue the next day of the Super Bowl win. I don't know. I understand the excitement around the organization. This is the first one. Howie Roseman all pumped. I think we want to have that persona like, let's get the next one.
Well, absolutely. But for the record, the Eagles did not commission that statue. Bud Light donated it.
Fair. Very fair. Good point.
Good
point.
That being, and I've seen that statue, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Wait, did we see it together when we went to the Cowboys game?
No, I don't think it was. Either we didn't go see it, or
I got a question for the fans here. 1 to 10, how ruthless was I up in the nosebleeds at that Cowboys game? Was I a little ruthless?
Yeah, you were pretty ruthless.
Yeah, I was screaming at Mike Groh. Get out of my stadium! Get out of my stadium!
Every time Jim Schwartz ran that picket fence, oh my God.
I am just, when you mentioned Jim Schwartz earlier and praised him, I wasn't going to sit there and deny. The system works when people get to the quarterback, but it is a flawed. The last thing I'm trying to do right now is getting worked up by this, but I'm sitting here and I'm thinking of the Tennessee Titans. I'm thinking of the Carolina Panthers. That defense blows. It blows. It's flawed. It is flawed. I don't want to do this.
They'll be better. They'll be better next year. They'll be better. McLeod's coming back. We'll be good. We have McLeod coming back.
You know who I'm actually stoked for?
Who?
Zach Brown.
Yeah, me too.
I think he is going to be solid.
Because now you can rotate people in that position now.
Underrated. That signing is so underrated. That is such a good move. And I'll be honest with you. I like Grugier Hill. but I don't want him to start. I think he is a tremendous role linebacker. He can play more than just special teams. If one of those guys needs a break, I'm cool with Grugier Hill getting snaps. But for him to play a legitimate role that Zach Brown's going to play, I wouldn't want to go to that extreme with Grugier Hill.
Well, it's interesting. When I was looking at I think I sent it to you yesterday, maybe. There was a projected roster and stat total for the team.
Yeah,
and they had the second the backup to Zach Brown being Nathan. Is Jerry or Gary?
I believe. Yeah, Jerry. I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I found that interesting because I don't remember him being very good last year.
No, he wasn't very good, but I think he had some time. But you're right. I wouldn't put any stock into him for this upcoming season if that's what we're talking about. You know what I mean? So, So one thing that was very interesting to me was the Giants.
Yeah.
And the drafting of the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on Daniel Jones at 6?
So, it's very interesting. So, my best friend, who, my best friend Reed, who know, when the draft was about to start, he texted me, if the Giants or the Redskins get Daniel Jones, I'm going to be so mad.
Really?
He is a Daniel Jones believer.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
And there's also a person who I talk to on Twitter a lot who, he punched a hole through his wall.
Because
they drafted Daniel Jones.
Okay.
A Giants fan.
Okay.
And to me, if Daniel Jones is your guy, okay, he's going to be there at 17.
Right.
There's no way he's not there at 17.
But the argument was that there were some rumors that some teams were interested, and if you believe in your quarterback, there's one exception when it comes to getting your guy.
Yeah.
You get your guy.
Yes.
You get your guy. But I can't believe it, and I just think they just butchered it, because who did they get later in the draft? Was it Dexter Lawrence, the player from Clemson they ended up snagging?
Yeah.
See, but this is the thing. You could have gotten a way more elite rusher there at 4 or 6 and still gotten – you know what? I mean, if you don't believe in Dwayne Haskins and they don't believe in Dwayne Haskins, but if I'm the Giants, I would have lived or died with – getting an elite pass rusher at 6, and then if it was Daniel Jones, then it's Daniel Jones. If it was Dwayne Haskins, it's Dwayne Haskins at 17. But I would have gotten one of the two, whichever one fell to me at that point, because I feel like that's how I would have done it, or I would have just taken Dwayne Haskins at 6. Was it 17 with their second pick or 19? I forget off the top of my head.
I think it was 17.
Okay, whichever.
And not just that, but it's it's a matter of, you don't have any time left to mess around with who your next quarterback's going to be. They tried, what was his name, Webb?
Yes.
And they tried to finish off the Geno Smith experiment. Like, you're out of time.
Agreed.
So whoever it is that you're going to pick, he better be your guy and he better work.
Well, here's the one thing that I would be really disappointed with if I was the Giants is Gettleman said after the draft, and he was talking to the media, he said, I don't know what we're going to do with him yet. Is he going to sit 6 years? Is he going to sit next year? Is he going to play in 2 years? We don't know yet. That, to me, blows my mind. How do you not know your game plan drafting a quarterback?
Well, right now, football in New York in general is a joke.
You're right, because the Jets, you know what though? The Jets are going to end up on top, because they're going to go get Joe Douglas, and that's going to be way better than anything they've ever had. So they are going to end up, their miscues are going to actually come back to help them. And they're not in the work. Well, to be honest with you, I hated Adam Gase to begin with. I thought that was this guy is a Chip Kelly type guy. It just isn't going to work. It's just not going to work. This is what makes no sense. He comes right into the Jets, and he automatically has all of the say with everything.
Meanwhile, he's saying, "Oh, I just want to coach." I just want to coach, but I'm gonna get rid of guys that if I had just traded him away for a conditional pick, I could have gotten something in return. But I'm just gonna let him go.
It's insane. It really is. But I will say this: they got Christian Wilkins, did they not?
Yes, they did.
It's a good player.
Yeah, he is.
It's a good player. And they got Sam Darnold, and they got Le'Veon Bell, and I think their roster is decently constructed for that division. Outside of the Patriots, they're in the best position skill-wise. Now, culture-wise is going to change everything with the head coach and how it all plays out with the GM and all that. But outside of the Patriots, I mean, I'll take them over the Bills, and I'll take them over Miami.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and yeah, I mean, the main thing here is that in terms of the Giants, going back to the Giants, is that, you know, if Daniel Jones was Gettleman's guy, then, you know, who are we to say, and before we see him play, that it was the wrong decision? Time will tell.
No, you're right. We all laugh because we don't really know much about the kid. But what if this guy becomes something special? Now, realistically, if I'm going to be a betting man, I would put on that he is not going to be the guy. But that doesn't mean he can't be the guy. I mean, we could be laughing in 3 years when this kid's legit.
Mm-hmm.
So you really don't know. But I think they butchered it dating back to 2 years ago when you pass up on Sam Darnold over Saquon Barkley, because I love Saquon Barkley. He's great. But you saw last year, there's only so much a running back can do. And this brings me back to the whole Gettleman doesn't know what he's doing with Daniel Jones. If it does take 6 years, well, where's Saquon? Where's Saquon Barkley at that time?
And not just that, I mention this all the time. I know we've discussed it, and I've mentioned it on Twitter and in tons of debates, especially with Cowboys fans. The last time a team that used a workhorse running back won a Super Bowl was when the Seahawks won. What was that, 2012?
Yes.
The NFL works with a running back by committee system now.
I agree.
It does. Like, you can have a running back that's your main, you know, your centerpiece to that committee.
Right.
You know, the Eagles, kind of did that with Ajayi at times in 2017, but, you know, workhorse running backs get drilled into the ground now. You know, because, you know, I don't know if it's because teams can game plan for that one running back and they don't have to worry about changing up the defense. You know,
I think it just gives teams different looks. Like, for example, this season, we're going to have Jordan Howard running, and then Miles Sanders, and then Corey Clement. And it keeps you on your toes, because when you see the same running back getting 7, 8, 9 touches in a row, well, I think you see similarity where they're hitting gaps and what runs they're playing or what plays they're running. But you throw Miles Sanders in there, he's maybe catching a ball out of the backfield. But this was my one knock, though, with Jordan Howard is Jordan Howard is very, very, very one-dimensional. When he's in the game, he's not catching the ball out of the backfield. But that's why you have Corey Clement who can, and Miles Sanders who can. Well, now you don't know what exactly is going to happen when Miles Sanders is in the game or whatnot. But one thing I loved about Miles Sanders, and he needs to get better at it, but how many running backs coming into the NFL after they get drafted, how many running backs, one of their first statements is this: I can't wait to protect my quarterback.
Yeah.
No, come on, you don't get that. He did say, I'm good at making people miss and hitting the gaps, of course, but at the end he's protecting my quarterback and pass blocking.
And whoa! I don't know if we had that last year
with a running back.
No,
nah, not really.
I mean, like, was it Wendell Smallwood who
I'm out on Wendell Smallwood.
Oh,
I'm out on Josh Adams. I don't know what he's gonna get, but I'm out on that whole experiment. At this point, I'm pumped with Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, and Corey Clement. Have we heard anything on Darren Sproles, or is that just a goner? Is that a Chris Long situation? I didn't hear any news.
I mean, he's so washed up. I mean, I
actually thought he was solid last year when he came back. He was a difference maker, I'd say.
I mean, I'm not saying he could be a difference maker, but he can't stay on the field anymore. I mean, not in anywhere near the same capacity that I think the Eagles want to use him for.
Well, that's one big thing that we're going to miss from this season to the last two is locker room presence. With Chris Long leaving, if Darren Sproles leaves, and hell, Jason Peters might be gone after next year, the locker room is going to be different when it comes to the veteran leadership in the most recent years. You kind of touched on this earlier, but we are getting older. It is something that is happening pretty damn quickly with this squad.
And that brings this conversation full circle to our very first topic, which was talking about whose job is it to make sure that that locker room continues to be healthy.
I love that. I love that you tied that in here,
It's
because
Doug Peterson.
We have about 5 minutes until
Yeah.
we are going to end this podcast, and for you to tie it in full circle with the first discussion, that is awesome. So real quickly, I know we're so early into kind of football season, if you will, but real briefly here, when you take a look at the Eagles moving into this season, would 11-5 be a pretty realistic option for a record?
I would say so. I really like their schedule.
I do too.
Funny, I remember texting you when I first looked at it, and all I had looked at was the first half, and went, "Oh my god, it's scary." Because we have lots of games on the road.
Wasn't there a segment of 3 on a row, but then 3 at home?
3 tough ones on the road, and then
but a bye week involved, no? Or is that?
Yeah, we have a week 9 or 10 bye week.
Okay,
and which is perfect.
Yeah, it's right before the Patriots game, but the Patriots also have a bye week heading into the same game as us.
Yes, but at least we're playing, at the lake.
Exactly.
Which is a difference. And, and you get to play, and I hate to, think about injuries going into games like that, but teams that are kind of aging like the Patriots are, you would think, not hope, but you would think that, a team like the Patriots, by week 11, whenever we play them, week 10, week 11, they're going to be beat up just like we are.
I will say this: they killed the draft. They had a great draft. I hate to admit that.
Did you expect any less?
No, but I didn't expect it to be as sick as it was. When I took a look back at it, I'm like, damn. I mean, they got that Winovich defensive end from Michigan, who that kid has a workhorse like no other. They had that ASU wide receiver. There was a second round pick, I believe, that I was just stunned with. Oh, they also got the Damian Harris from Alabama. He's got some miles on him, but that's a guy who pounds the rock. They did solid again. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you though, you want to know what part of the Eagles' schedule has me the most excited for this season?
The end when we played through
the Giants twice.
What? How many in a row is it? It's like 4 straight divisional opponents to end the season.
So to end the season, I believe it's Dallas, Dallas, New York, Washington, and then New York again.
Wow, 4 straight divisional.
So
games.
I think, but I know we get the Giants twice, like right at the end of the year, which.
Give it a quick Google real quick if you can.
Yeah, if this, in my opinion, let me see, Eagles.
Yeah, because I believe that this is big. Because I mean, the end of the season is going to come down to the division. Not that wouldn't any other season, but it's if it's 4 in a row, and I'm pretty positive that it is.
Yeah. So looking at the schedule here, yeah. So we get So Patriots are November 17th. So then 12. Yeah. So we get the Giants 12-9 at home 8:15. So you get prime time.
Yep.
Then 1:00 game in Washington on December 15th.
Okay.
Then the Cowboys at home the 22nd of December. And then we finish off the season December 29th with a 1:00 game against the Giants at the Meadowlands.
That's amazing. I'm super pumped.
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you this. If the division's close coming into that 4-game stretch, advantage Eagles.
Yeah, agreed.
Because even though we do play the Cowboys, 1, it's at home. 2, we get 2 matchups with the Giants.
Yeah, agreed. And even the Redskins late. Like, who knows where they're going to be late? Although they had a great draft. Now, I don't think Dwayne Haskins is going to come in and be this elite star right off the jump, but the Redskins had a really solid draft. Everyone fell to their laps.
I mean, Haskins for them, where they got him is a steal.
Yeah, I agree completely.
I don't know what he's going to be. How his skill set will translate to the NFL level. But regardless, I'm even looking at this now. Before we face the Giants and we had that 4-game stretch, we play the Dolphins.
Right. No, I agree, dude. I'm with you. I think we have a great opportunity in front of us, so I'm super pumped for it. So with that being said, we are going to wrap up our first episode of this podcast. So thank you for coming on here, by the way. I had a blast, and
this was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way we're doing this podcast is we're putting the full episode up on YouTube, and we're also having it on multiple platforms on podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and things like that. So we are going to have multiple platforms for it and try and keep it outside of what I would put on my Sports Talk with Brodes YouTube channels in regards to Philadelphia sports recaps, but still have great topics and great sports discussions. I thought today was awesome. We get derailed sometimes, but that's great. That's what I want. I just want to just kind of, in all honesty, shoot the shit, really, is what I wanted to do. So with that being said, thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this podcast. Thank you, Taylor, for coming on. We're definitely going to do one again, of course. Yeah, no problem.
Maybe baseball next time.
Yeah, we can do baseball, of course, especially with that being in season, without a doubt. So we are signing off. Thank you so much for listening.